Wow, seems like just yesterday. It was 1974, and I was graduating high school. And then, suddenly, I wake up and it's retirement. Join me as I navigate reinventing myself in this next life phase on Second Act Workshop. Well, hello, welcome to the channel. This is Second Act Workshop. My name is John. If um, when you watch the intro to this video, you've noticed that I'm recently retired. And Second Act Workshop is because I do some woodworking and things like that. I have a small shop in my garage here. And so metaphorically speaking, it's going to be about some of the things I do, as a maker and creator and that sort of thing. But it's also about how I'm reinventing myself, as a person in this new phase of my life. So it is a second act, and it is a workshop. Then, as you've seen by the thumbnail, how to reclaim your identity outside of the workplace. And this is something that as a retired person, it's it's a big deal, because so much of who we are and what is about what we did for work or what we do for work. Retirement, it's a big adjustment. So who am I now? Well, I actually started working on this before my full-time employment ended. And I started trying to communicate that to people. That's, knowing that I was getting close to retirement, that's when I picked up, basically started as a hobby, the woodworking. I did some Christmas presents for family, and then, decided that was something I really, felt good about. It was creative. I could engage myself. I started making that transition, even before I stopped working full time. But I actually, tried to communicate verbally as well, that, as a person, it was not just about what I did, for a living or my job function or anything like that. I've noticed, on Facebook and internet and, all that's, some of this latest trend, there's small talk courses now, and they're teaching you what not to say. And so that's kind of where I'm headed, right now with the video is, is how we communicate. And, that tells a lot about who we are. But these courses now are telling you there are certain questions that we ask all the time. And, the problem is these questions are they're kind of habitual, and the responses really they're only surface connecting. So it's questions like, how was your weekend? How's it going? Or how you doing? Or for retirees, this is the doozy one. What do you do? So I wear a lot of labels. And that kind of explains what I do. The first and most important label is I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, and that's important. And I try to make sure that guides my life. My beliefs, and we'll get into some other habits and things that I do along that line a little bit later. My parents are deceased, but I am their son. So I'm a son, I'm a brother, I have two sisters. I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a grandfather. So that explains a lot about who I am. But I heard this term recently, and I love it, because it's individually focused, but it's the term solopreneur. So, like I explained, I'm a maker. I do part of a makers group. I do woodworking, and I feel like I'm I can be creative in that. It keeps me engaged. And something else, a friend of mine, when he found out that I was doing YouTube videos or starting YouTube. This is all brand new for me. I just started this in January. And so he said, "Oh, you're a content creator now." Well, I guess I am. So I love how that kind of wraps up in that solopreneur thing. It's really cool. But anyway, when again, when I talked about some of the habits that I do as far as my spiritual development and spiritual growth is, I have quiet time and I have a prayer journal in the morning. And one of the things that I do in that journal is I list 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I try to do different ones every day, but a lot of times I repeat them because of especially where I'm at that moment and how I feel about it. But I have found that by just focusing on, and they can be small things, and then the small things are probably as impactful as the large things, but it's starting that day on that positive foundation of just being grateful. I mean, it can be as little as I am grateful for coffee, and I'm a big coffee drinker, and I love coffee, and especially sometimes in the morning, I am really grateful for it. But putting that, getting those 3 things and laying that foundation, it really, I think this helps solidify my identity as well. So we talked about those 3 common questions in small talk that, you're not supposed to ask anymore. So for me, I kind of thought, well, what are some things that I should be asking people? What if I wanted to be asked, or even ask myself? I ask myself some of these questions, on a daily basis, because it's focusing on those deep dreams or desires, or maybe directions that you're being called for, and maybe you're just resisting because of, well, it's new, I don't know if I can do it, that sort of thing. But anyway, here's a couple of questions. What is the coolest thing that happened to you this week? The events and situations mold us, and when you can concentrate on something, this was a really neat thing that happened to me today. That's a positive reinforcement. The second question, and this is not, how can I put this? This is not saying that, that I would just pick this up tomorrow and try to take a course on it, but it is telling me that, if this is something that you really want to do, then why don't you try pursuing it? If you could learn or suddenly have the talent to do something, what would that be? I've always wondered, and I've tried it a couple of times, and certainly not in a deep way, but learning a second language, I just think that would be cool. I think, especially in the world we live in, and the ability to use a second language, I've always thought that'd be neat, or playing an instrument. And of course, these are things, if I really wanted to do them, I could sit down and go. But at least there's that focus. It's causing me to think. But if I ask that to another person, and seeking their response and that connection would tell me a lot about that person. And here's a gotcha one. If you could change any situation in the world right now, what would it be? And the reason I ask that question is, there are a lot of answers to stuff like this, with wars and rumors of wars in the world today, and, hunger and all those large things. but just realizing that these are the type, answering this kind of question might be the way to start with you, or starting with me. If I can't solve this big question, this big situation, maybe I can be the solution to a smaller one that would help the larger one. I don't know. But anyway, that's where I am right now. So, who am I? What is my identity outside the workplace? Well, I hope I've answered that question a little bit. I see myself as, like I said, a maker, a believer, a husband, family member, all those things. And the neat part about retirement is the freedom and the time to pursue all of those things with gusto. And that's been my plan, and that's what I'm trying to do. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you'll take the time to like and subscribe. Like I said, this is a very new channel. I'm learning, trying to teach myself a lot about about putting videos together, and I hope it's somewhat entertaining, if not informative. But I'm going to keep trying to do this, and I could sure use the like and subscribe. So, if you like what you've heard, even if you didn't like what you heard, at least like and subscribe anyway, or at least subscribe anyway. Anyway, I appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.